Well, good afternoon, everybody, or maybe it's good morning. This is Liz Calandrino, and I am so excited to introduce Diane Grossman, the Carpet Girl. One of the reasons I'm excited, I don't know if you know this, Diane, but I follow your stuff. I've been, like you said, you follow me. I have been following you forever. I read your stuff and I get a chuckle out of it because you're so right on point. So maybe you want to tell the audience a little bit about yourself and how you got started and where you are and all that stuff.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Elizabeth, for having me. I have been following your writings in Floor Covering Weekly. I literally cut out your articles, and they are part of my training manual for my staff because I think that it's important that we listen to people within the industry. So, my story is kind of a unique one. I actually am born and raised in Augusta, Georgia. I lived in Dalton, Georgia for about 5 years.
In the carpet capital.
The carpet capital of the world. I lived there and I was one of those customer service girls. I worked for a small company called Global Text years and years ago and was really bad at my job. So while I was going to school, I left the carpet industry and transitioned into other sales positions. And after my own really bad flooring experience, I worked with a gentleman who meant well, but he really didn't educate me on the process. I went to my husband and I said, why aren't there more people involved in flooring? Like, especially women, like, why aren't, and he's like, oh, you have to work with an interior designer. I'm like, but I have a great eye. I don't need an interior designer. I know what I like. And then as I started doing research, and I actually was reading in one of the Floor Covering Weekly magazines that 80% of floor covering is sold by men, but 80% of floor covering decisions are made by women. And I thought, well, there's the disconnect. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. And I decided then that I was going to develop a company specifically focused on flooring, but I was going to market to the female consumer because I knew that that was the missing link in all of what was going on, that women shop and buy differently than men do. And if men are the driving sales force, we needed to create a system and a brand and a marketing plan that told the female consumer, I'm the place that you buy from. And
Okay.
there is the birth of the Carpet Girl.
Okay, the birth of the Carpet Girl. So where are you located? You're in New York, close to the city, right?
We're in the
Where are you?
tri-state area. Yep. So we're located in central New Jersey, and we're probably 45 minutes from New York City. But we're in a really tight wealth belt area of our where we are. So lots of high end. A lot of the people that live in New Jersey in the central area where we are, they commute to New York City for work. So we're in the suburbs, essentially, for New York City.
Okay, so you made a decision early on that you were going to do high end. You said you lived there and you could have moved any place, but you realize that the customer, you're looking for a better customer. There's no sense wasting a whole lot of time on a customer that doesn't have any money, right?
Well, that's really it. I didn't want to be in a position, and I think that's where this comes in, is it's not just about, I didn't want to be in a position where I was competing with box stores because box stores compete and they solely sell on a price point. Even if it's an entry level, box stores sell on a price point. I didn't want to compete with box stores. I didn't want to compete with contractors. I wanted to set myself out as a different shopping experience because I knew that the female consumer would respond to that.
Okay, so two things you just said. One is differentiation, that
Yep.
you have to know who you are and what makes you different, right? So
Right.
you've got to figure out your niche. And then you've also got to figure out who you're not, right? Talk a
Right.
little bit about that because some businesses I find, if somebody walks through the door, they decide that's their customer. And that's
Right.
not, right? That's not true.
No, no. So I market myself to the female consumer who pays to get her nails done, pays to get her hair done, who follows fashion trends, who, women will buy great handbags, women will buy great shoes. So I made sure that I created a brand for that. And I also understood that there are three customers. There's A customers, B customers, and C customers. It doesn't mean that my store only sells high end, but I market myself to the middle right? It doesn't have to be super expensive. It doesn't have to be super inexpensive. But I recognize when the customer comes in, if they're based on price point, then I adjust my sales process to that. And I also recommend that you teach people how to treat you. If you teach people that you are going to sell them a product strictly on price point, then you need to understand that in the very beginning of the sales process. So I identify the customers as A, B, or C, and then I create the sales process for them that best suits. And then as the consumer tries to drive more of the price point, it's okay to fire a customer. It's okay to say, listen, I'm not the store for you, right? If you're looking for something for $5.99 a foot, completely installed, and you need it tomorrow, I'm not your gal, because that's not my A customer. So it's okay to say to a customer that walks through your door, I don't worry about every sale. I don't try to sell every customer. I try to sell customers that are perfect for the carpet girl.
Okay, so can we go back to something you just said?
Yeah.
You said that you'll adjust your sale, but I want to ask you, but you make an assumption that every customer can buy better. I had that in my conversation with you. So I'd like you to talk about that a little better. It goes back to what we spend on our nails, what we spend on our hair. I look at it, I'll go in and I'll look at women there and I'll look, let's see, that haircut and that color probably cost her a little bit over 200. I'm looking at those nails. She's got eyelashes on. Those are the permanent ones that probably cost her 150. So her monthly shell out, right?
Right. Well, you can tell a lot by a customer based on this actually was one of the experiences that I had at another flooring competitor. I was kind of watching what was going on, and I watched two women come into the sales store. And this is when I knew I was onto something. One woman walked in with Chanel flats on. Those are $3,000 flats.
There you go.
She was carrying an Hermes bag, and she was with her friend who was driving a beautiful Mercedes. I watched the salesperson show a entry-level nylon over and over and over again. Finally, I watched the two ladies get very discouraged and they walked out. And I walked over to the sales manager and I said, you just lost that sale because you didn't recognize the handbag she was carrying was $10,000. It was a $10,000 handbag. You should have recognized that the shoes were $3,000. You've got to know your audience, right? You can't sell heavy metal to someone who listens to classical music. I don't care how great it is. No one's going to. So that's really about understanding the environment and also marketing yourself. If you are a low-end budget style remnant dealer, then you're not going to attract people necessarily. Doesn't mean that people who carry a $10,000 handbag isn't going to buy budget. Like, that's not necessarily true. But I think you have to understand your audience so that you're not offending them by offering them really low-end products. This happened to me last night. I had a consumer that was wanting to buy a low-profile product for her son's room. I started out by showing her a nylon entry-level product that she could buy in a box store. You know what she said to me last night? It's a $1 million home. What else do you have? Immediately.
Okay, so to go along with that, I want to back up again a little bit. Do you think, I think one of the things that happens to salespeople is they get nervous. Like, it's, like you said, they need to look at what kind of handbag is she got. And when I was in business, we used to give a bounty. We would say on a Saturday, the salesperson who recognized the most expensive handbag would get an extra $50 for the day. I think that salespeople often get caught up in their own, like, I don't know if I would spend that kind of money. It's like the mindset of the salesperson gets in the way, right?
Well, that does. And that's why I think it's important, like, to go in is that, the Carpet Girl is a brand, right? And so we market it. It's no different. Like, I'll give an example. Kleenex. Kleenex is a brand, but we know that when we ask for a Kleenex, we're really asking for a tissue. Right? Like right. McDonald's is a brand, but when you see the golden arches, you can make a hamburger at home, but we all know that children love a Happy Meal. The other scenario that I brought up, which was Kleenex, Johnson & Johnson, hand lotions, all of those. The Carpet Girl is a brand. And so when people come here, they come here with almost a little bit of an expectation that we might be a little higher end. right? So I think it's important in the very beginning to talk about the way that women buy. The buyer has changed. The baby boomers are no longer the strongest
That's right.
retail consumer. That's the first thing. That's what COVID did for all of us, is it went from the baby boomer being the most prominent buyer to now the millennials are. We need
Right.
to recognize that millennials are not 17. Millennials are now 40.
Well,
It
tell me,
took
wait, let's go, like, let's stop a minute. Let's say, okay, so what is a millennial compared to the boomer? What makes them different?
I think a boomer is used to the old sales, President's Day sale, good, better, best scenario, right? This industry was built on selling a entry level and offering good, better, best, right? And baby boomers responded to that, President's Day sales, all that. Today, millennials are very educated consumers. They are
Um,
educated.
if you've just joined us, by the way, I want you to know that I'm interviewing Diane Grossman. She is the carpet girl, and she is hot. I have to tell you something. Like I said, I've been following her for years. She writes great articles on her website. So you might want to look at her website. She's got wonderful blogs there. Let's go back to the brand thing for a second. Okay, so you mentioned a brand. Let's explain what a brand is and what do you have to do to build one. But give us the definition of a brand.
To me, a brand is, I can recognize it without knowing anything about what it is. I make sure that when people walk into my showroom, they know that they're walking into a Carpet Girl showroom. I know that when they take home a sample, they're taking home a Carpet Girl sample. We have Carpet Girl labels on everything. When they're flipping through brag books of what our products look like, they are looking at a Carpet Girl book. A brand is something that it gives the consumer an experience, but it also tells them, because they're buying a brand, that they can spend a little bit more because they can expect a little bit more.
So where do businesses make mistakes with the brand? So
I think people get caught up.
over.
I do. I think people get caught up with the heritage of their family business. It doesn't mean that you can't have, but I think that there's a way today's consumer responds to a more personalized experience. That's the millennial buyer. They want to be handheld. They don't want to walk into a 40,000 square foot showroom or box store and have to look for someone to help them.
Okay.
Today's a consumer, the millennials, like to know that you are waiting for them. They like to know that you're prepared for them. They want to get in and out, because today's working millennial moms and dads are very busy. They're juggling lots of things, multitaskers. So the brand tells them that I've got your back. I understand your experience. I know what you're looking for. Your social media, your marketing, everything needs to tell today's buyer that you're in great hands, because today's buyer has already done the research. You don't need to sell them on the technology of the yarn. You need to sell them on the look, the feel, the performance, and then price.
So we really do need to know who our buyer is, right? And do you think maybe what happens in stores is it's the woman, and yeah, that's why you're the carpet girl. But we look at other stores, their name doesn't say anything. It says Charlie's Carpet Store, and I think we don't pay enough attention to who our customer is. What do
If you
think?
are selling white label products, you're doing yourself and your store and the consumer, you're doing them a disservice, right? Like, I really firmly believe that today's consumer likes the idea of a brand. Look at Stanton. Look at Stanton. Stanton's a prime example. As if I say the word Stanton, my consumer goes, oh yeah, I know who they are.
So the
You do.
consumer knows what you mentioned, that the consumer's been online. The consumers looked around. It's not like the baby boomer from 20 years ago, who now they're probably online too. I don't want to say just because they're boomers they're not online, but 30 years ago, 20, they weren't online. So they really depended upon you to educate them, but they're not
Correct.
depending upon you for that now. What are they depending upon you for now, Diane?
I think that my customers my A, B, and even C customers, I think all of my customers want to know. We've had horror stories with contractors, right? They took my money, they didn't show up. I think that when a consumer comes in and buys a brand, they're also buying your reputation, right? They're doing their homework before they ever walk into your store. They've Googled you, they've gone to their Facebook groups or their Instagram groups. You know, most of my consumers will come in and go, "Oh my God, Diane, I follow you on Facebook. I follow you on," and they're so excited to see their project on. You know, they're looking for an experience. They've done their homework. They've already gotten a referral. So they're coming to you to, it's their turn. And you'd be surprised at how many people are like, "I'm so excited to get a Carpet Girl runner." I will tell people it's not carpet if it's not a Carpet Girl runner. And I think that that's what that's how you separate yourself. Like, as women business owners and as women in flooring, stop trying to compete with the men in this space.
I love
Don't
it.
compete with them. Set
No.
yourself above. I am more than. People know that I'm a community activist. People know that I have a nonprofit. I write articles. I show up to networking events. The Carpet Girl is a tagline, and it gives people the confidence to go. And that's exactly what it is. If I have a cold and I want a Puffs Plus tissue, that's what I send my husband to the store. I don't tell him just to go buy me tissues. I want Puffs Plus. When people come in to buy carpet and flooring, they're not looking for just anything they could buy at a box store, because trust me, if they wanted a box store experience, they would be in a box store. When they walk through your door, they're asking for personalized treatment, and you better be prepared that that's exactly what they want to get.
Okay, so let's go back to your community involvement and tell me what it is. Tell us what it is. Tell us how you do it and why it's important.
I think it's more than, a lot of times small businesses will support the softball team, right? And they'll put their name on the back and it'll say Joe's Carpet, right? And you think that, oh, that's my branding. It's got to be more than that. And I think that today's millennials are very involved in their community. And you can just tell based on the language that goes on within your community, what's important to your environment, and making sure that you align yourself with those. My nonprofit is called Mallory's Army, and it's named after my daughter, Mallory, who passed away about 4 years ago. She was bullied at school and took her own life.
Oh,
And so
sorry.
thank you. Instead of hiding behind, I created, once again, a brand, but I created an opportunity for us to share our experience, because I felt like today's buyers and consumers, if you talk to, they say 1 in 4 children are bullied at school. Well, if 1 in 4 children are bullied at school, then that means one of my customers are. So I align myself in a platform so that they can see that I am more than just the Carpet Girl, right? I have turned my store into a safe haven, a space. It's all about that. It's all about creating community involvement, getting involved within the community. And I think women have a unique opportunity to do that. Align yourself with a cause, get known as you're involved in that cause, become a professional in that cause, and let people know who you really are. Again, that goes into the entire idea of branding. So you're no longer competing with the men in your store. You have separated yourself from that pack. And that's how you do it.
You know, it's funny you talking about your store, because I was invited to do a workshop on community. I called it Community Hub.
Yeah.
And that what you're doing is, you said, creating a safe haven. You're also, it's like, who are you and what are your values? And I'm
Right.
not sure, but I want to check this out with you. I think that this age group that we're talking about, that they're concerned about the environment. They're concerned about, I know in my neighborhood, there's lots of young people, and we're collecting clothes and things for our Afghan refugees, but it was started by somebody in my community who fits the age group. So I think you're saying we have to know more about our consumer. It's not just what they want to buy.
Right.
What they
It's like,
stand
what are their
for.
values?
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think knowing that, and I was thrown into this, but even before that, I got involved in like the runs and I got involved in those things. And I think it was for me, it was a way for people to see me more than just somebody that could sell them a room of carpet. I wanted them to see the full picture because I think that that is. And of course, COVID has highlighted all of that. And so for the women that are listening and they say, well, I'm competing for business within among the men, then you're doing it wrong. Don't compete with them. Set yourself out. Create a tagline. You should be the go-to gal in flooring, right? If 80% of our customers are female, then you already have one leg up on the people walking through the door. So they need to ask for you by name. And that's what they do when they come in here. People will look at me and go, are you the carpet girl? And I'll say, well, I am a carpet girl, but we've got lots of carpet girls. Who would you like to speak to? But people get excited about that. And particularly these younger buyers. They're exactly what you said.
So, you know, part of what you're saying is like, look, a really great salesperson knows that you have to build a relationship with somebody before you ever talk money, numbers, and product. And I want to ask you this, I find that new salespeople have a tendency to want to sell right away. They don't, they're so nervous that they forget that they have to build a relationship
I
before
think
you
it's
can talk about anything, right?
Right. Well, I think you have to build the relationship, but you have to also be very careful in building relationships. I also see salespeople build too deep of a relationship, and then that's when it gets in. Come on, you can give me a better price and what have you.
Yeah.
I think that if you let them see who you are and they already come in with a preconceived, I would be very careful on building the definition of building relationships, and we can probably do a whole other conversation about that. But I think building relationship to an extent, understanding the consumer, what's important to them, making sure that they know who you are and what you stand for, your reputation, and walking them through the sales process. I find that many salespeople, particularly women, have a difficult time switching from selling to closing.
Aha. So, but the brand, if you're going to be that brand, you got to be able to get the customer to buy the right product, right? I mean, you're not going to get them to do it, but you're going to help them uncover what they need, and then you're going to help them make decisions. Do you think women have trouble making decisions? Does that show up in your
I would say, okay, so a woman that's having a difficult time making a decision, I would call her a C client. I would also identify her as that you have to also know there are certain women who enjoy shopping, particularly in my area. We have women that will go from, they get one project a year. So they want to make sure they get the project right and they will overshop for that product. They'll come in with a bag of swatches, then they've been to 3 other stores. You need to be able to identify that client right there, that if they've got a bag of swatches, you're not closing that client. And you've got to be really careful how much time you spend with that customer being able to identify them. So, I shared with your group, and you've got it, our work order thing that we have up. This to me is getting to know the customer. To me, this is what this is, getting to know the customer, because this is, when's your project due? When do you need it completed by? Is it residential? Is it commercial? Is there rip up? Is there disposal? When you start asking those questions, you're transitioning from a shopping experience to a buying experience. You're taking them down that road that they're going to say yes to the dress. And by the way, I use that all the time. I'll say to a woman when she's right there and I know, I'll look at her and I go, oh my gosh, Liz, are you getting ready to say yes to the dress? And they get all excited and they go, yes. And my husband will chuckle in the background and I've got that credit card right in line and I swipe it and we're ready to go. They love that.
I love that. And, that should be, everybody who's watching this should be thinking to themselves as they're doing the presentation, I got to get her to say yes to the dress because she's buying the dress. Maybe she's buying those Chanel shoes. It's so funny you said that. Tory Burch is what I love. I love the Tory Burch shoes. Now, I was in Nordstrom's, and even Nordstrom's $190 for a pair of those shoes. But I know when I wear those shoes and I'm out talking to men, even men know that. I was at the convention not long ago, and some guy looked at me and he looked down and he goes, Tory Burch, huh? one of the things we know about women, and maybe you can address this, women have to dress the part. We have to have something about us that says that we know fashion, that we know what things should cost. And by the way, everybody out there, I'm talking to Diane Grossman. She is the carpet girl in New Jersey. She's terrific. And by the way, she showed you a form. She has forms that you can get after this, but you have to make sure that you have signed in to our website so that you can get those. And she has an offer that I'm going to talk about later on. But in the meantime, okay, go for it, Diane. I forgot the question now. What was the question?
I know. Well, we were talking about, again, brands. So again, you could buy any pair of flats and they would provide you with the comfort and everything that you need, right? So understand all of that. I always say in my office, we sell fashion, right? We sell an image. When someone comes in and they're looking to buy a product, they're looking to invest in their home. They're looking, we have to understand that we live in an age of social media where it's a look at me. It's literally selfies, right? So when someone comes in and they're looking to buy something high end, if they're looking to make improvements on their home, even if they were forced to make improvements on their home because they had a flood, they had a fire, they had a disaster, they look at this as an opportunity to make their home better than it was. Well, you've got to be in a position to be able to talk to them, work with them, and give them the best advice, but don't assume that they're not already educated. And I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of people make, is that the old selling module of good, better, best, or, this is a rim and this is that. I think that we have to really, I was talking to a store owner the other day and he said to me, he goes, "You know what, Diane?" He goes, "I'm 68 years old and the customers changed." And I said, "Yes, they have. And you have not. You've still got the red and white sale signs in your store. There's no prices in my store. There's no sale signs. I have never in 9 years had a President's Day sale. You know why? Because my consumer doesn't care. They know there's no such thing. They're educated. They don't want to listen to the white noise. I don't have $5.99 a square foot on one thing because $5.99 a foot doesn't exist. Because you have to really factor in the entire project. If you want to have a conversation about how much something costs, sit down and say, what's your expectation? What are you looking? What are you looking for? Because if you have an unrealistic expectation as to what a custom runner is going to cost, then I need to spend some time with you. If you think it's going to be $500, then you're wrong. That beautiful custom tape nail head, that's a $5,000 runner. And if you're not here to spend $5,000, then we need to look for less. I'm not saying that you can't have a beautiful runner. I'm saying you can't have this one. You need to look for less. Instead of buying the beautiful custom 15-foot wide, beautiful hand loomed wool, we need to be looking at a look for less nylon.
But we got to get her to say yes to the dress. Because
right.
I love that. That is so great for working with women. In our minds, we should be saying, say yes to the dress. Now, you made a statement, I wrote it down, which is really critical. You talked about investment a number of times. And we talk about having somebody buy. Do you want to buy this? I think you probably wouldn't say buy. I think investment would be what you would say and how you would do it.
Absolutely. Like that's what customers are looking at. They're making an investment in their home, just like they make think about today's millennials. They make investments in their children. They give them soccer lessons. They give them professional lessons. They give them running lessons if they're on the track team. If they are a goalie in soccer, they give them goalie lessons. They give them piano lessons. They're making an investment in their child's future. They save money. They're making an investment in there. So when you talk to the consumer, they're making an investment in their home that adds value to what they already have. And I think that when you talk in those lines and explain to them, I always say reduce it down to the ridiculous. An average custom carpet runner, let's say that costs $2,500. Let's say that they're going to have it for 10 years. That's like 33 cents a day, right? Reduce it down to the ridiculous. Right. Like let them understand that explaining to the customer that reducing something down to the ridiculous. That's the reason why they say you can help this child for 13 cents a day. That's what they're doing. So someone's making an investment. You're going to have this for 10 years. I always say the labor to do your project is exactly the same no matter what you purchase. I always say this to them. Buy what you love. Buy what you love. Buy what makes you feel good. look, feel, touch, what's going to look great in the pictures. Start painting a picture. This is all part of the Carpet Girls sales process, which is I'm not selling flooring, I'm selling future experiences. Imagine your children sitting on the staircase. I had a client buy a custom runner for me just because she wanted her child who could go down the stairs last year to see Santa Claus. She wanted the pictures of her child seeing Santa Claus to be great, and she wanted to make sure that she had a custom runner to match it. That is a true story.
Well,
that is today's consumer. That's today's buyer. They are looking for. So not only did we jump through hoops to make sure, and by the way, Christmas morning, my phone was beeping because that client was texting me pictures of her son coming down to see Santa Claus for the first time at 2 years old. That is success, ladies. When your client texts you, that's the relationship that you're talking about.
And that's the one that you want to have. So just for a second, you've got some forms that they can have, right?
Yes.
Put some things together. All of you out there, if you're watching this, all you have to do is make sure that you're signed into our website so that you can get this. Could you just give us like a little bit about what the forms are? What have you got there for me?
Yeah. So this is our consult form. So I'll just kind of hold it up. It's on the website. This is a consultation form. So first, and I'll let everybody know, I am a by appointment only showroom. We don't do any walk-ins. If someone walks in, that's a consultation. And we transition them in order to meet with me and do what we call a shopping appointment. So if you want to shop for products, a shopping appointment requires measurements on file. And there's examples on your page under TCG forms. There's a page under there that shows what our architectural style drawings look like. We explain to the consumer, in order for me to answer all of your technical questions, I need the drawings first. They pay for the drawings, which are proprietary to our office, right? So you're teaching the consumer how to do business with you. You have to have an appointment. If you do walk in, we sit down and we do a consult form and we go through the scope of what their work is. We have architectural style drawing.
I just have to stop you a minute. Teach the customer. This is tremendous. Teach the customer how to do business with you. You're in charge of that.
Correct.
You're the one that decides how much they're going to give you, how they're going to pay. I hear so many people, oh, I didn't get a deposit. Oh my God, they owe me so much money. I forgot to tell them this. You are teaching the customer. This is a critical piece of being in business.
It's the steps closing the sale, right? If you're looking to close the sale, you're teaching the customer how to treat you. You're teaching them the sales process. You're letting them know what's going to do. And if they push back on any of your infrastructure that you've built, and again, I would be happy to help teach this. If they give pushback, then you know right then they're a C client and that you can only give them. But if you treat your store like it's a public library where they can come in and shop and borrow samples and do everything, then you're nothing more than a librarian. You're going to give them tons of information and they're never going to buy from you. So my store is not a public library. We don't let you take pictures. We don't let you come in and borrow samples. If you don't have plans on file, you are not leaving my store without samples. We charge customers to order the swatches. Like if you want like the little swatches, I yelled at Maslin because they had free samples on their boards. I said, get rid of the word free. It's not free. Nothing is free. Free estimates. An estimate is not free. You know why? Because it costs you time and money. It's free to the consumer, but that doesn't gain their loyalty. They're just taking advantage of you. We give no free estimates. I haven't given a free estimate in 9 years.
So another question about that. Okay, no free anything. I like that.
No.
So teach the customer how to treat you. Let's go and look at, okay, so now I come in. Let's talk about your follow-up. How important is follow-up and how do you do it, Diane?
So generally, I love the consultation. So our follow-up is, so when someone comes in and let's hypothetically say they're ready to do. So the next step would be, obviously, we always say to them, what's the next step? The customer should leave with a next step. They should know when you're going to follow up with them. So I'm going to call you on Tuesday about 1 o'clock. Is that good for you? I put it in my calendar. The customer needs to be able to anticipate what the next steps are. So we always talk about next steps. We always talk about when it should arrive, how long it should take. You know, we talk about labor issues and shortages and things like that. None of that has affected my business. If anything, it's made me stronger. If they can wait 6 months for an Italian leather sofa, they can wait 6 weeks for your carpet.
So do you tell them that? I mean,
I do. I absolutely talk like that.
I hear people saying, I had a client that I coached said to me, oh my God, they raised my price. I was supposed to get, it was supposed to cost X number of dollars on this product. And now it's going to cost me more. And I said, so what are you going to do? He said, well, I'm going to eat it. I said, what are you going to eat it? Then you told the customer up front. Every customer in the world knows there are shortages on product, that prices are changing every day. It's just a question from what you're saying is explaining to the customer the expectations they need to have and how they're going to do business with you.
This isn't a labor shortage. It's not a product shortage. It's really and truly educating the consumer on what to expect, right? This product, just because it's in stock, it's going to take 4 to 6 weeks for it to come in. Just because it's available. And I posted this yesterday in the women's Facebook group. I said, a great installer, you're going to wait 4 to 6 weeks for. A good installer, you're going to wait 2 to 3 weeks. A bad installer is available tomorrow. Which one do you want? That's what I say to my customer. If you need it tomorrow, I've got a bad installer. I'll be happy to send him. His seams look like Helen Keller, but if you want that, I'm all for it. And when I say that to someone, it's not offensive. They're like, oh, okay, I get it. You know, when you're at the hospital, even the hospitals now, when you go in for stitches, they'll say, well, we can stitch you up, but if you want a plastic surgeon, you have to wait 6 hours.
That's right.
So you know what they do? They wait 6 hours for the plastic surgeon if it's on their face. Right? Like, so again, it's the consumer has changed. Social media and this COVID and everything that's going on. If we are smart, educated, and don't fall in love with Timmy's carpet rim store, like we got to walk away from that business model. The consumer has changed. It doesn't mean that you can't be Timmy's discount carpet. I'm not saying anything bad about that, but you have to really look at your store from the consumer's perspective. If it's dirty, if it's not dated, if you're not using technology, if you're not following up with the customer, if you're not calling them, if you're not, like, I have a project manager, I have an administrator, and her only job is to follow up with the consumer on their experience. Your product is on its way. You know, I always say, you better call the customer before they call you. We don't call up our customers and say, did our guys, did they show up? We call our customers and say, good morning. We just wanted to make sure that our installation team arrives safe.
Nice. And they can, yes. And they can, and okay, so this was always something that I thought about. I used to always say to the customers, okay, this is the craftsperson that's coming to your house. And, there's some things I'd like to tell you about them. First of all, they're going to need a bathroom. So I'm going to suggest that you explain where that is. And listen, if you want to make breakfast for them, or if you want to get them a cup of coffee, feel free. And by the way, I know you want to know about giving them a tip. So feel free to tip them. That was kind of how I explained to the customer their responsibility and the relationship.
You know what it does is it humanizes the installation team, and it takes away the installer mentality, and it makes them it makes them more of a craftsman, right? Like if you want a day labor in your home, then by all means. But typically no one asks for that. No one says, hey, Diane, I want the bad installer and a day labor. So, but by us calling and saying to them, I just want to make sure that our installation team arrives safely, that says that we care about them, and that translates to them that they should care about them. Don't treat them like they're day laborers. I think that when you change your language, you change your game. And I think that that's what women have to do. You're so busy competing with the men and trying to compete with the khaki pants and the golf shirts that you get lost on, we already have, like, change your language, change the way that you talk to the consumer. They will come in and ask for you by name because you are the brand.
I love what you said. I'm going to go back to it again, that we need to quit competing with men because, listen, some are good salesmen. I can't say that, but it's by accident for most of the time because they're not paying attention to what she's wearing, the color of her hair, how much she spent on her eyelashes, which are $180 to get a brand new set of lashes, right?
Right.
And I think that we do get kind of caught up in, who is our competition? We are our competition. We are our own worst enemy.
I 100% believe that. Sometimes we can talk so much during the sales process. And I said that to Janice, my other carpet girl, the other day. I go, you know what? I go, I messed up. And she goes, what? I go, I kept talking. I go, she had her card out. And I kept talking about Mallory's Army, and she has an autistic son, and I kept talking. She put the card back in her wallet. I messed up. She came back the next day because she wanted to run everything by her husband just to make sure that they were going to do both staircases rather than just one. But I messed up, and I said to my carpet girl here in the office, I said, "Oh." I said, she had that card in her hand and she put it back in her wallet because I kept talking. And sometimes I think we can get, I always go back to the Tommy boy analogy where he gets all excited and he gets so excited about the sale and he just wants to close the sale and he blows it. And I think that that's what's happened. Sometimes we can talk and we get so nervous that we talk too much. Sometimes I have to sit there and go,
me too.
Right. And I think that that's part of, and that's what, to me, that's what the Carpet Girl is all about, is it's an experience, it's a brand, it's a tagline, it's a way for you to stand out beyond all the other competition. I have no professional training. I spend a lot of time educating myself. I read from people like you. I get involved in my community. I make sure that people know who Diane Grossman is. I make sure that my social media is active every day. I make sure that people are tagging us. And when I post my pictures, I say to the consumer, thank you so much for inviting my team into your home. Here's your picture. You've got the industry has changed and we've got to evolve. We just have to. And I think that this is an opportunity for us women to come together. And they don't call men working men, but they call us working moms. Think about that. Men are not called working dads. We're called working moms. Change your language, change your game. There's things that we can do as a community to really take over this industry. Just because we're women in flooring doesn't make us interior designers. And I hate that.
Oh, I have to tell you, this is what happened to me a couple of weeks ago, because you'll love this. So there was, we were at this convention, and so somebody referred to us as ladies. I said, wait a second. When men are out there, they are called businessmen. Nobody calls them guys. So when you speak to a woman, if she's a businesswoman, she is a businesswoman, and these things that men come in the store, men who sell to the gal, oh, hi, gal. And, I just, how do you deal with all that stuff? What should we be saying?
When I first started this business, I was laughed at. There was one manufacturer that said, I have a unique business model. I'm in an office building. I'm not a storefront. Because once again, I don't believe that today's consumer really wants to walk into, and this is not critical of the 40,000 square foot showrooms. There's a place for you, and I could talk separately about creating a designer experience within your large showroom. But my business model is very small, very boutique, and with really low overhead, because I think that that's really important in today's market. Is my doors are still open because I keep my overhead really tight. I don't invest in a lot of inventory. There's too many SKUs in this industry. I don't stock inventory. We are a cut order business. There's systems in place for the reason why I'm the way I am. But in the very beginning, people laughed at my business model and they thought it wasn't going to work. And I stayed true to who I was and what I was going to. And I get that, oh, you're a girl in the business and whatever. And I was asked this. I was actually at a college business fair, and there was a gentleman that came up and he said, and I'm going to say it, I'm just going to tell you I'm saying this out loud, but there was a gentleman that came to the microphone and he asked me, about being a woman in a male dominated industry. And I said, my vagina doesn't run this business. My brain does.
Well, all right. So with that in mind, Diane,
right? Like, we have to stop thinking like that. We have a brain. Our gender doesn't run the business. We can be women in flooring, right? But it's our brain and our connection to the consumer that is running our business and that is increasing our bottom line. Our gender has nothing to do with it. And I think it's super important that we don't get caught up on, like, women in flooring, we're girls. Like, you're devaluing yourself by doing that.
Right. Now, okay, so we only have a minute or two left. So here's what I want people to know. So here's the thing. First of all, we need to invite you back again, Diane, because you're super good and you have lots of energy and terrific stuff to say. But I want everybody to know, and I'm going to say it, then I'm going to have you reiterate it. Okay, so Diane has an offer. It's $99, and you can have a consultation with her. You're going to book that through us, and we're going to talk to Diane. and she's going to look at jumpstarting your marketing plan, and she's going to help you get started if that's what you want. Do I have that right, Diane?
Absolutely. I would love to. Nothing more than to have a consultation, understand what your plans are for 2022. We have a unique opportunity. I am happy to jump on the phone and review what your plans are and open it up to a bigger conversation for more work with you. I love it.
Okay, so I want you all to know again that you're going to book this through Michelle Winter. She's got it up there. All you have to do is go. She'll set that up for you, and so that you can continue with the Carpet Girl. Oh, I am so glad you're here. Again, I said I've been following you for years, the stuff that you've written, and I think I did call you a couple of times over the years. I've called you, but whatever, it didn't go. But now that you've joined the group. And you love the group, don't you? Isn't the group?
I think I am so excited. I really am. I see the women. I want us to really just plug ourselves in. I want us to be the strongest force in the flooring industry. I want us to be on the cover, us as a group, us as an industry. I want us to be the movers and shakers for 2022. I want us to be our group to be on the cover of Floor Covering Trends, Floor Covering Weekly. Every floor covering magazine should be talking about us as a movement, not just women, but as a movement. We're going to change the way the consumer does business, and we're going to change your stores for the better. We're going to motivate your salespeople.
I have an idea, because Floor Covering News called me, and they said, Liz, we want to do an article, a special article for you for Tice, and we're going to run an ad for you and everything. And you know what, Diana, I'm going to call you for a statement, because what you just said is really terrific. You're such an important part of our group.
I'm so humbled to be a part. Giant hugs.
Yeah. And I'm so glad that you're there to help us build. So thank you so much, everybody. You can watch this again, show it to your team, get them to understand that
we got to get motivated, right? We've got to get motivated. We've got to get excited. We need to look at our stores from the consumer's perspective, and we've got to really create energy going into 2022. And that's what we're here about. And that's what I'm about.
Thank you so much, Diane.
My pleasure.
Okay, take care, everybody. And
bye, everybody.
Find out what she's got for you. Okay, Michelle, where are you? Michelle. Where's our Michelle? Let's call Michelle and find out where she went. Okay, everybody. Okay, don't forget, everybody, sign up. This is if you want a consultation with Diane. You can set that up with Michelle. She will do that for you. It's a $99 consult. I think you'll get plenty out of her, because she can talk just as fast as I can. And in addition,
can you hear me?
There are forms for you.
Liz, can you hear me?
Again.
Okay, it's off. I ended the broadcast, I think. Hang on. Oh, wait.
Okay.